everyone, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. Welcome back to Aisha vlog. So as you can see, today we are not going to discuss anything. We are going to read the book 2 Degree by Ellen GRATZ, and actually this is the audio of it. So I can tell you about the story because I have read some parts of it. It's very nice, thrilling, and it's basically on the climate change. And if you ask me, the meaning of thrilling is like it is an adjective basically, like when you have very strong emotion, like when you have very when you are very excited or something. It's like that. If you read it part 1, you would be thinking what's going to happen next, so you have a great excitement of the next part. This is called thrilling. And the nice thing I like, this book contains 3 parts, like 3 stories, but in shifted manner, like 3 climate change, fire, snow, and flood. So the first part is the Sierra Nevada, then the first part of snow, which is Churchill, Manitoba, and the first part of Miami, Florida, then the part 2 of the Sierra Nevada, and the part 2 of Churchill, Manitoba. So today I'm gonna read the part 2 of Miami, Florida. So let's start. If you have your book, you can open it, or you can just find the PDF of it online. The first chapter, Swept Away. No, Natalia thought in a panic, watching her house disappear in the rain. Mama, Tia beats. Natalia tumbled and turned in the water, cursing the swimming dog in her hand. Stop fibbiting, Diablito, she thought. Natila's feet weren't even touching the ground. Water sloshed in her gasping mouth and she choked as she kicked and thrashed. She had to find some place up and out of the water, somewhere covered and out of the rain and wind. Natalia swam for the houses on the far side of the street, but Reuben pushed her back. Here, Reuben is the flood, like in Miami, Florida. Basically, if you are aware, so the floods often comes here. So there are many floods that can come, and they are named with that. So this is the flood. This is the another flood that we are talking about, which is Reuben. If you read the part 1 of Miami, Florida, you can understand who is Natila, who is Tia Beads, and what's all about. But let me give you a short look. So Natila is a small girl here, basically a main character. She live in Miami, Florida, and she have a great interest in all the geography and her favorite television. She always watch her favorite television and geographer who detect these floods and tell when it's gonna come. So as she's always scared that the Miami, Florida will have uh, will can have any time a great flood time. So she's always prepared. She has a diary in which she noted the, like, she whenever the television comes, her favorite television show, her geographer who detect the storm, she always have a mini journal in that she wrote every like the major, the kit for it, the everything she needs it. So she, when she get to know that the ribbon is gonna pushed very soon, so she told her mama to pack the house with the wood and all. And there, Tia Beads is her neighbor. She's an old lady with a dog with named Choro, who came to visit her in the time when they were packing their house to not get flooded away by the ribbon. But somehow it entered their house from the back wall, and everyone was detached. Like her mama and Tia Beatza were separated by Churchill and Netila. So now, what's going? Reuben pushed her back. She tried to pick up higher, but Reuben pulled her lower. She tried to grab on uh, to a half-buried stop sign, but Reuben spun her away. Natalia screamed into the wind. She couldn't remember feeling so helpless, so exhausted. No matter what she tried to do, Reuben made her do something else, and all while blowing that train whistles roared brar and brar. Like he was reminding her who was the boss. A refrigerator floated by, and Netila grabbed at it, hoping to cling to it like a log. But it spun in the water and sank at her touch. She didn't see the stove that followed the refrigerator until it slammed right into her. Bright pain shoot up and down her side, and she cried out, swallowing more grey sweater. The swiveling storm snudge pulled her under the stove, and Netila had to let go of Choro. So she wouldn't take him with her. She kicked and fought, turning upside down and round in the water until she didn't know which way was up. I'm going to die, was all Natila could think. I'm going to die. Her head shot out of the water, and Natila gasped and coughed, dizzy and disoriented. Rayburn's attack on her felt personal now. Like this was some kind of game the hurricane was playing with her. First, he could knock down the wall of her house. Then he had swept her out into the street. Now he was batting her around like Choro, playing with a squisher toy. Choro. Natila was sure she had lost him. She traded water, turning and squeaking through the rain, and was surprised when she spotted him. But what she saw didn't make any sense. Choro was standing on top of the water as he floated down the street. Next, hit Chickers. Natila swam towards Choro. How was he standing on the top of the water but still moving? As she got closer, Natila's hands stuck something hard under the water's surface. She ran her finger along it, feeling its contours, and she understood. The storm surge was carrying a car down the street, and Choro had hitched a ride on top of it. Choro crouched low, his legs splayed out for balance. The wind pushed him back and forth on the top of the car, and he shivered in terror. Hang on, Choro, Netila cried. She pulled herself along the car's roof rack, keeping her body in the water. Reuben tried to yank her away, lashing her face and hands with stinging rain. But Netila hung on, walking her way around the car until she couldn't curl her legs up on the trunk with something final underneath her. Natila pulled Choro into a protective hug. I'm here, Choro, Natila said. Choro couldn't have heard her above the wind, but for once he didn't bark at her or growl. Basically, early Choro don't like Natila, don't like his kind. He always used to bark at Natila when Tia bids bring her to her house. So this time he didn't, nestling into the shelter of her arm instead. Boom! Something electrical exploded in the shower of sparks a block away and made them both jump. Natila watched as the wind stripped the culture off a house, as easy as peeling the skin off a banana. Trees snapped and went flying away into the darkness. Street sign folded flat around their poles, and the water was almost up to the eaves of the one-story house that lined the street. Natila's thought flew back on her mother and Tia Bitza, trapped in the house. What if they didn't find a way out before the water reached the ceiling? Something tumbled inside the car beneath her, and Natila looked down at the back window. A white, lifeless human face started back up at her, and Natila screamed. There was a brown woman inside the car. Natila turned away and reached into the water. She tried she tried not to look, tried not to think about the body, but she could still feel the dead woman's eyes on her. She glanced down again. She had to. She couldn't help it and saw the dead woman's body was mashed into the space where the window and the ceiling met. Her hand whistled sideways at an unnatural angle like something out of a zombie movie. Natila stuttered uncontrollably. She had to get off this car, and not just because of the dead woman inside all around her. Natila recognized the familiar palm trees and traffic light poles of the 6 lane Okeechobee Road. Oh no, no, Natila thought. The highway wasn't the problem. It was what was just across Okeechobee Road that scared Natila. Raven was pushing her towards the canal, 15 feet deep and miles long. Miami's canals funneled fresh water from the Everglades and rainwater from regular storm through the city and out to the sea. But Miami's canals were places you definitely did not want to go swimming. Every year, the city pulled lots of cars and trash from the canals, dead bodies too. But there was something even scarier in the canals. If Natila and Choro didn't get off this car and fast, they were going to go swimming all the alligators. Next story. The Drawling House. Thunder boomed and the lighting illuminated a row of houses along the side of the road. As the darkness returned, Natila thought the flicker of light in one of the second story windows. Candles, which meant someone was in there, someone she could take shelter with. Hang on, Churu, Natila cried. She pushed she pushed off into the swirling water, trying not to think about the pale, lifeless face watching her from the back window of the car. Who was the woman? How had she been caught in her car when the flood waters came? Has she been on the way home or trying to make one last desperate attempt to flee the city? Whatever the reason, that car and the canal on the other side of Okeechobee Road would be the woman's last resting place until someone could fish her out. Natila just had to make sure she and Chiro didn't join her. Natila held the little dog up out of the water as much as she could. He wasn't thrilled to go back into the storm surge, and he was growling again, growling and shivering with fear at the same time. Chibobas thought Natila. Natila struggled towards the house, kicking and flailing. The rain and the wind blasted her. The water rose and fell, but this time Reuben worked with her, not against her. The storm surge was already higher than the front door, but as the water aided, Natila was able to grab onto the top of the door frame. Take a deep breath and swim in through the open door. When Natila came up out of the water inside, her head was only a foot away from the ceiling. She panicked in the tight space, thinking again about Mama and Tia Beats, drawling as the water rose in their one story house. But this house had a way up, a way out if she could only find the stairs. Natila spun around in the darkness, still trading water. The room she found herself in was a washing machine full of all the things that had filled the house: magazines, clocks, clothes, pots and pans, sofa, cushions, video games, controllers, hairbrushes, books. They all swirled around in the dark, foamy water that pushed and pulled through the open front door and the broken windows. And the water was still rising. We have got to get out of here before we are trapped, Natila told Choro, and he barked in response. It was dark and close, but Natila thought she was stairs on the other side of the room. She turned to float on her back, but per Churro on her chest, and used her hands to pull herself across the ceiling. The water in the room rose and fell, but always rising more than falling. A floating basketball bumped into her head, something prickly and a spider web like brushed her leg. Natila's breath came in quick, fantastic gasp, and she hurried her space. Suddenly, Choro jumped off her chest and into the water. No, Choro, wait, Natila cried, turning to try and see where he was. There, Choro was splashing toward a rectangular opening in the ceiling, the stairs. Natila spun around so she was on her back anymore and swam like a frog behind Churro. Go, Churro, go, Natila yelled. Churro made it to the top step, half and half out of the water, and turned to bark encouragement at Natila. A few seconds later, she found the stairs herself and she crawled up after the little dog and collapsed onto the carpet of the second floor. Good heavens, said a woman's voice. Marcus Javari, pick her up, get her away from there. Gentle hand lifted Natila and she let herself be carried down a narrow hallway. Two teenagers Two teenage black boys propped her up against the wall in between electronic equipments they must have saved from downstairs. Their eyes were full of amazement and concern for the girl who had washed up on their stair. The man and the man the man um The man and woman Natila took to be their parent crowded in close behind them. You all right? The father said. How would you even get down there? Natila broke into exhausted tears. Mama, tear beads, tango, Q, Wooler, Cornell. She sobbed. I'm sorry, honey, we don't speak Spanish. She said something in Spanish. The mother said. Natila blinked. She hadn't even realized she was speaking Spanish. It was her first language, and Natila sometimes found herself falling back on it when she was frightened or confused. Natila switched on English, and her whole story came gushing out. The wall collapsing, the water rising, escaping through the window with Choro being swept away down the street. I have to go back for them, Natila said. Mama and Tia Bates, they are drawing in our house. Calm down, you're safe now, honey, the mother said. But I am sorry, you are going nowhere till the storm is over. None of us are. Natila swallowed a sob, but she knew the woman was right. She had barely survived being out in the water the first time. There was no way she was getting back to her mother and Tia Bates anytime soon. So we are ending at this page only, which is 124. I will continue this story in the other parts and we will be completing it by today or tomorrow, and we will move on to the part 3 of the Sierra Nevada. So if you like this video, please like, share and comment. Bye bye.